right. Well, today is, what is this? February 7th. Oh my goodness. 2022, but it's Happy New Year for those of us that are following the lunar calendar, right? So it just started. So it's okay. If you feel like January just kind of ran away from you, I said this to you, right, last year, that in Japan we have this saying that 1月行く、2月逃げる、3月去る. What that means is that the January will just go away and February will run away from you. Okay. And then March, 3月を去る means it will be gone by the time it arrives. You'll feel like, oh my gosh, March is gone. Okay. That's just kind of how it goes. All right. But I think that's why sit back, relax. It's the lunar year, just started. Okay. And one thing about tiger year, and it's a water tiger year, but think of tiger's behavior, right? Tiger isn't running all day long either. And they tend to be nocturnal. I mean, depends on where you live. It's, if the tigers live closer to the cities or the villages, maybe their behavior changes. But generally, they hunt in the night and they tend to kind of go very quietly and slowly, right? They don't exert their energies that quickly. So, it's okay to take this year just a little bit, step by step by step. Okay. But what I would say, the tiger year, particularly this year, you want to make sure your affairs are in order, or maybe like your plans are in order, or certain goals or plans that you wanted to kind of get going on for the last several years. You want to set that in motion by the latest by May. Okay. I just want you to know that by May, like mid-May. Just please don't wait till like summertime and then say, okay, it's July, maybe I'll start thinking about it. It's like, not so, because there's this saying in Japanese that it's kind of a cool little saying, and let me say it correctly. It's koshi tan tan. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, koshi tan tan. Ko means tiger. Shi means the tiger's vision. Tan tan. Tan tan is like regular beats, or like without fear kind of a thing. So what that means is that the tiger will be checking on you. And if you don't take the actions and you're just kind of taking a nap under a giant, I don't know, one of those African trees, I'm thinking, or Bodhi tree or something. I don't know. If you're just lying there and taking naps, okay, and then you're just not doing anything, then, in Japan, we say you're going to get eaten by the tiger. It's that kind of year. So it's like, it's okay that, January just kind of went away and you're like, wow, what did I do? Like, I didn't get a lot done. It was just confusing time, because Chris and I are going to talk about how confusing last month was. Okay. And then the last week was particularly. But what you want to keep in mind is that please don't just daydream. Okay. Really have a vision and just the awareness, like, where am I headed? Because this is the year that bridges what was being the past patterns into the new future. 2022 isn't really the year that like a dramatically you're going to get on to something brand new, but it's like bridging year. So you want to get going on actions of what it is that you're trying to do, and try not to just pick your nose and yawn and wait for positive affirmations that you've been repeating to come back. You kind of have to live the positive affirmations. You actually have to take actions. Otherwise, you'll get eaten by your tiger. Okay. And the tiger can come in many forces, right? Tiger can be, I don't know, maybe the work that you're doing is going to completely change because you're not willing to change, or a relationship it's going to change. A lot of relationships are going to be challenged this year. So make sure to start to work with your inner relationship first and take actions. And 2023, it's funny to talk about 2023 when the 2022 just started, but 2023 is kind of like nothing like before kind of a speed. Okay. a year. A lot of things going to get birthed next year because it's a rabbit year next year. Rabbits, as you know, they produce ton of babies. Okay. We have rabbits that are just constantly eating our grass right now. I was chasing a rabbit at 11 p.m. last night, everyone. Okay. Anyway, I digress. But so 2023 is a giant, like a birthing, like ton of new things going to start to happen. And that's like a shift change, right? So I wrote it on the email, but you go from a day worker to the night worker, right? Or changing of the guard at the Buckingham Palace, things like that. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's a pretty cool scene, right? There's a changing that's happening. So this is a great year, the tiger year, to embark on something that you've always wanted to maybe get certified in, or things that you have been truly interested in. Because up to this point, many of you felt like, I'm sure, you're going through a Las Vegas buffet zone. You sampled this dish, you sampled that dish, and you go to the other table, and then there's like a Feast of Italy, and then you go to the next one and it says Dynasty of China's cooking, and then you go to the next one, it's like a sushi bar, and then the next one you go to and they're making egg omelets for you, and you're just like, what, I have to try all this because I only come to Vegas once in my lifetime. That's kind of what you've been doing. Like, you've just been eating buffet of foods. So you've checked into this workshop, you signed up for that thing, and you thought, ooh, there's something going on here. Oh my gosh, there's a live going on here. So you show up. And you just, like, at the end of it, you have absolutely no idea what you just consumed. And your gut feels the same way. Your digestion is going to be completely off because the digestive enzymes are like, am I digesting protein at this point? Or am I digesting your ice cream that you put on top of the omelet? Or am I digesting you felt badly, so you just went for the salad bar? It's like, oh my gosh, stop. Okay. So right now, come back in. I would say choose 3 things that you are truly interested in, something that makes your heart go, ooh, not just heart sing, but it's like awakens. The heart awakens. That's what you want to lean towards. That is what you want to start to define and make necessary actions towards something that awakens your heart by May. Okay. And I think, we're heading towards the time in its history that, like, changing of the guard, but the old is going to be switched into different gear, into the new motion. So there'll be a lot of birthing of the new ideas and new way of looking at things, new way of governing things, new way of having relationships. I mean, like Zoom, this is already started, right? We're creating new relationships that I may never actually hug you in person, but I feel like I get to hug all of you virtually, and it means it's truly real to me, so there's something so much new that is happening. I'm not saying to discard the old, but if you're still stuck in languages or terms like good old days, I wish it could go back to how it used to be. Okay. I used to be this way. I hear that a lot in health world, right? I used to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or I used to weigh this much, or I used to be able to participate in these things. It's like, let's stop that kind of language and just say, what can I do now? How do I show up to this new vibration? So shift your vibration from within too. So, and I would say, in order to do that, to prepare yourself for 2023, couple of things that I've been really feeling into it and writing it down, and I'll go back to my notes here, but I wrote down, learn about money, everyone. Learn about money. What that means is it's that, number one, learn how do you interact with the word money, okay? If the word money has kind of a low vibration to you when you hear that word first, and you just kind of go back or choke on it a little bit, okay, change it to something like finance or wealth, okay, well-being, whatever, that's fine, okay. But then you need to ask yourself, well, why am I having such a hard time with that word money? So learn about it. Learn about, we fear things that we don't know, right? We fear things that we've been burnt by before. We fear things that we are um, ignorant about, right? And it's time, everyone. You can't be closing your eyes, look, those monkeys, right? The covers the ears and eyes and, mouth to just say, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see it, kind of a monkey. Mizaru, kikazaru, hanasazaru is what we say in Japanese, but zaru or saru means monkey. So those triple monkeys, you've got to stop and really face what is money, okay? And it needs to go beyond what we have been doing with the money in general, okay? Like putting money in the bank and savings, or paying debt off, or purchasing. It's not that kind of a direct transactions. You want to start thinking about what is money in the bigger sense. Is it the services? Is it relationships, bargaining? Also things like cryptocurrencies. If you hear that word and go, I have no idea and I don't want to go down that road, I challenge you this year to actually start learning about crypto. Okay. So different investments. Okay. And learn new things that are maybe younger generations are teaching us. And, that's not always easy for me either. I'm kind of like a sandwich between the baby boomers and a millennial kind of age, right? And Chris is like on the edge of millennial into Gen X, right? So we're just kind of get sandwiched in between these worlds. But I try to pay attention to maybe what the generations who are in their early 20s and younger. So more Gen Zs, they have some interesting energies flowing through them. And so I wouldn't like stay away from that generation. So I would actually actively speak to them, grandkids, friends, neighborhood kids that are that age group. They're fascinating people. I would even call them like a fascinating spirit creatures. Like they are nothing like I've ever seen, and I'm very intrigued by that generation. So that's one of the things that I think you might want to bridge. Okay. In Chinese astrology and then also Japanese astrology, we use the number 5 this year. 5 is like, we do a lot of things in like a tens, right? So 5 is kind of a midway. So it's a balancing year. So it's the old and the new, and just kind of like subconscious and a conscious mind, and the younger generations versus older generations. And just try to see yourself bridging these things between the science and spirituality also. Your head and the rest of the body, or your head and your heart, but also don't forget your gut, right? Balancing these things. And let's see, anything else? Stay curious. Yeah, and let's see, I think last thing I'll say about this year is that it's the year that you are definitely, until about May, you're planting seeds. Okay. And just trust that you planted it, and then don't go back and dig it up and say, what's happening? Like, don't disturb the seeds. Okay. They're planted, just attend to them, water, and then obviously the sun's going to start to warm up the soil, and then let the seeds do their jobs, but you want to make sure that you plant them before May. Okay, so then just quickly, one more thing about, I'm not a major, like I don't know enough about astrology, but the one thing I know for sure is to the end of April, like late April, no, like all planets are now direct. What that means, there are no retrogrades. Okay. Thank God. Okay. This is a good thing, everyone. So the speed will start to kind of like come back to natural rhythm for you. So this is a really good time to learn about your own biological rhythm, learn about your physiological rhythm. I am actually fascinated right now since the last lunar eclipse in November, November 19th to be exact. I have like the moon has been the Earth's moon. It's been talking to me so much. So actually quite in contrast. I mean, not contrast, but the communication. Let's put it just communication. I've been in communication with the moon a lot, and the moon is teaching me a whole lot of things right now. So come back to the rhythm of things and reset. Okay, rebalance and reset, because this is a great time because no planet is in retrograde right now. Okay, so that being said, I think, I will hand it over to Chris maybe so that I can take a little breather. But before that, I wanted to welcome all the new people that are showing up because I see some new faces, new names, and all of you that's been following us. And some of you are like, who the heck is this person? It's just chatting away at like tiger ear. What the heck is wrong with this lady? And she's like, Happy New Year. And that's like February 7th. Okay. All right. So for those of you that do not know me or just heard about me, or your friend is like, you just have to get on this thing and you got to listen to it. And you're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with this person. Is that I am a healthy intuitive. That's a term that I coined because I work intuitively, but I am very much interested in the human health, the human wellness of who we are. And health means wholeness. So I'm not only interested in your diet and supplements and your past history, maybe surgeries that you've had or diagnosis that you've received, but I'm also interested in your daily lifestyles, mindsets. I'm very much interested in the brain science, so the subconsciousness, working through your limbic brain, working through your brain parts like amygdalas that are always firing for danger, and then how to cool that down, how to work with your vagus nerves. But I'm also very interested in ancestral work. I'm interested in talking to your ancestors. Okay, when they're necessary to show up to your sessions, they do show up. So I don't know, it's just I'm interested in health, so that's what I do. And I just and I will have Chris introduce himself too after this, but we do share the last name, so I think we're somehow connected here. So you'll learn that too shortly. And so after welcoming you, I wanted to also say thank you for your support and all that I've been putting myself out there, and the invitations I've been saying yes to for all my interviews. Thank you for all your support. It's just, I think without that, I would have quit by now. But because you always show up and you are like, people ask me, these interviewers will say to me, or these, like even the shift network would be like, how come you have such a devoted people that show up to all your calls? I'm like, well, because I love them. I really, really love you all. And I hope you can feel that. I really want you to feel that on this love month, particularly. But, thank you for being truly you and shining your light, because I feel it. I feel it every morning. I go outside and say good morning to the sunshine, and then I can feel all your sunshine. Thank you. And last thank you is that I just finished up the small group sessions that I did, and it was absolutely beautiful. I learned so much from all of you that did the small group with me. I see the beauty in community. I think that's what I learned from doing small groups. I did several small groups, where 4 people show up plus me. And then we go through each and every one of your questions. But, everybody can learn from one another. And afterwards, I said to Chris, I said, I really want to get back to maybe not every Monday, but as often as we can, we want to make the commitment to show up because we need to choose the, I think we get to choose the group you want to be a part of, right? We're not just like randomly thrown into an elementary school of your neighborhood. You get assigned to a one class and you don't get to choose which teacher you get to learn from. That era is coming to an end. I really see that in even in educational system, even in a traditional educational world, it's changing. I think us, I don't like the word consumers, but we are consuming information. We are here to receive. We get to have a say in this, where to show up, where to allocate your time and an energy. Okay. So I want to come together. And then Chris feels the same way too, that we didn't abandon you last month. It's just that we had just way too much going on. And then we can't do every Monday, but we will do what we can to show up. Okay. And I love the small group so much that I will try to offer that probably towards later this year again. Okay. So look for that when I do. All right. Oh my goodness. I talked for 23 minutes straight. Okay. So Chris, it's yours.
Yes. Thank you. Now you can take a breath and all right. Well, I echo what Masami said, and I've just been sitting here itching in my seat to talk, and now I get to. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, well, before I actually get to this, because I'm going to say more about community in a minute here, but you may not all know this. In fact, you wouldn't know this unless we tell you. But for those of you that got to see Masami on the Ancestral Healing Summit, I just wanted to let you know that we just found out that she was voted as the top speaker for the entire summit. So thank you to all of you who not only watched, as Masami said, your support means everything. So for you to write your comments in and to share that with the Shift Network, we were pretty stunned because there was quite a lineup of speakers for that summit, and it was really a great compliment to Masami's skill and ability to speak to all of these different areas that she can touch on. And so I just wanted to make sure you all knew that. And also, in case you aren't aware, I'm going to put this in the chat for your convenience, but you can go to masamicovey.com if you want to also check out the upcoming talks that she's going to be giving this month. One of them is with Tammy Mastroberte, and the other one is with the Beyond the Ordinary show with John Burgos. Okay, so you can.
Tammy is in March.
Oh, Tammy's in March. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm looking at the website. But yes, these are both things that you can still sign up for that are coming up. And as always, your presence and your support is very much appreciated. So let me step back to the topic of community very quickly. And thank you, Sue, for the comment about Astrid Schiller's series. That was also a really good one. And also the one with
Adrian too. Adrian.
Also Helena Riley.
Yeah.
Helena Riley. Oh yeah, you've got several. Masami's all over the place. This is why every Monday. So for those of you that are new, we were doing every Monday pretty much throughout 2021 and the last part of 2020. We were coming on just about every Monday, pretty much having a theme that we would talk about. But our style on these calls is pretty open and us just kind of talking back and forth. But again, thank you all for your support. And what I wanted to say about community is this is something that I got to touch on this topic with a teacher of mine who I haven't been able to see very much during the pandemic. He doesn't live nearby, so it's not very often I get to see him. And I was able to see him this past week, and we were talking a little bit about this community and the importance of it, because he's the leader of a spiritual community, and it's really changed the way that we speak to each other, see each other. We were talking about how different it is to be in the physical presence of someone versus looking at a two-dimensional image of them on a digital screen. And yet, somehow this technology and these forums that we're able to create, like here with Zoom, we're able to touch so many more people and bring them in and have this connection. And I have to say, it's been a very real thing for both Masami and me, and something that those of you that have been on some of our calls and programs in the past couple of months, in particular, in our Waymaking program in December, something that I've said is that when we are together as community, where one of us evolves ourselves and we're growing and we're really responding to what life is asking from us, the whole community has a ripple effect. And so we're able to influence not only the world around us, but also each other in this smaller self-selecting group that we're able to come together with. So I thank you all for that. And a couple of other things, and then I'll hand it back to Masami, but she was talking about the year of the tiger, and one little story about, as she was writing up some notes on this, she had accidentally, maybe it wasn't accidental, maybe it was just her subconscious speaking, but she wrote the word that it was a predatory year instead of a preparatory year. And so I was just reading it out loud, and I assumed that she meant to say that because tigers are predators. And so, but then when we started talking about it a little bit, we started looking at what is a predator, and that word has some negative connotations, but a predator is very careful, very selective, very cautious about which decisions to take, how to expend energy, very strategic about those things. And so this is very much in line with what Masami was saying earlier about what this kind of year is asking us to do. And it's asking us to be very discerning in what we choose to use our energy for. And I'll come back to a personal example of this as we go a little bit further here. But I can tell you that for all of the opportunities that are there, the entire cosmos is going to be double and triple checking you to make sure you really, 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 really mean and want to do what you say. Okay? And I'll say more about this in a minute here, but I'll hand it back to Masami for now.
Well, thanks, Chris. And thank you, everyone. I'm reading all your chats. I love it. Yeah, and John Burgos's one's in February, so February 22nd, 2022. Yes, I picked that date because I thought, oh my gosh. And I was surprised that day. He was like, I have these dates open, and I'm like thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I'm going to pick that one. So as you know, the twos are going to be amazing this year, right? That being said, though, I am seeing 1111 so much in the last week or so. I don't know if any of you are noticing that, but holy cow, ones. Like very important emails are coming at 111 or 11 something, 1111 or 1 o'clock at 11 or usually ones don't happen that much for me. Oftentimes it's more like threes and things for me, but now it's totally ones for me. So I don't know. I'm still trying to not get too caught up in figuring it out. Okay. Because logic isn't always the best way to move forward. And one of the things that I wrote down in my notes, and I gave it to Chris, that maybe we could share today, is that last couple weeks has been, I think most of you felt this, okay? Just as the Venus retrograde was ending and the Mercury was still in retrograde too. But oh my gosh, it's like, seriously, again, like somebody came in with a dust blower, not the dust sucker, but the dust blower, and just blew up the entire house full of dust. And it just mud everywhere, dust everywhere. Everything's upside down, and we thought, what in the world is happening? But it just felt like we're making a certain decisions in our hearts. I touched my head, but it's not like we're making a decision in our hearts, and the universe is like, okay, let's get going, but you got to stir up your past narratives and old patterns and your habits and your karmic looping and get all that crap out before you can clean it out. And it's just total mess. And the brain is going through cognitive dissonance, like scrambled egg inside. And so it took about a week to 10 days for the brain to finally get on board. Have you felt that? Like your heart's like, I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing it. So the heart was going for it. The decision had been made, but the brain is like, I wasn't part of that decision. So it was trying so hard not to make us go forward in certain things we were doing. And I'm going to have Chris talk about it if he feels comfortable, but it was really tough for him too. And I would say I put down our consciousness is shifting now. It's altering, it's rewiring. So you're going to definitely feel the brain rewiring. And some of you might have noticed, but in the last 2 to 3 days, I would say, I feel this weird dizziness that I know it's not coming from my adrenal fatigue or anything like that. I know for sure, because it's not stemming from my adrenals. I know when I feel dizzy, and that's caused by the blood pressure changes that are mainly controlled or monitored by your adrenals. And when I work with adrenally fatigued clients, they will feel like they can go from lying down to standing up and they feel dizzy. It's not that kind of dizzy. I'm talking like this, like airy feeling, like space moving through my brain. And I had that today too. So I thought, okay. So I just kind of mumbled inside me. I said, okay, brain, are you rewiring right now? And the brain's like, this kind of sucks. But I said, well, let's just stay curious. Let's not label it as good or bad. It's just what it is. So maybe some of you are sensing and feeling that too. But that's because your human mind is several steps behind what you have already put into motion. And if you wait for the brain to come online and walk along the side of your decisions, you could be waiting for centuries to make your decisions. Okay. So just make the decision, leap first, jump first, then you go, are you with us? Turn around and look at the brain and see if the brain is willing to come along with it. And if it is, you might feel that little strange dizziness that is not induced or caused by exhaustion of your adrenals. It's definitely different. Okay. If you're feeling adrenal exhaustion and that dizziness, you'll sense it not just in your brain, but you'll feel a little bit weird at the like a waist and hip area. Okay. Even your knees too. I'm not feeling any of that. It's just very much localized in my brain. So I put down here, decision comes before you can convince your brain. You can't wait for the brain to be ready, is what I wrote down here. So once you make the decision, okay, the internal self or internal old patterns are going to fight that decision. And that's when it's going to create ruckus inside you. Chris said maybe cacophony inside you. And I talked about cognitive dissonance, and stirs up dust and mud and just throws all kinds of stuff because you made the decision. Okay. That is, think of it as your, maybe ego mind. I suppose you could label it as you want, but I think there's something inside you that's like, no, I don't know what that means. I don't want to go there. And then just kind of throws tantrum. Okay. So you just need to say, can we just stay like curious? You don't have to stay positive, just stay curious. Okay. Well, I'll hand it over to Chris, and then maybe there's some comments coming through for this too. Yeah, recalibration, definitely.
Yeah, recalibration. We were using that word a lot yesterday. So I think for me, there's so many things I could say here. One of them is about this feeling of scrambling that comes up in the midst of change. And it's so interesting right now because I'm actually going through a process I've made a decision to make a major change in my life as far as work, and getting to that decision. And I'm not going to go into all the details of that here, but what I wanted to say is that in the lead up to making the decision, the first part of it was, like Masami talked about, you can't wait for your brain to get ready. And this is something that I personally have struggled with a lot, is getting all the information, all the details just right before committing to a decision. And so this time around, that wasn't really an option. Everything has been showing me the time has come for you to move differently. It's just, if you need more signals, we're going to start breaking things. That's kind of the level that it's gotten to. And so I'm listening to the signals that life is showing me. I decided to make a big change in work and what I'm doing. And what has happened is that it's almost like, Masami mentioned this earlier, the old patterns get stirred up again. And so it's kind of like, are you really committed to this? Because now we're going to throw some things at you to see what happens, to see how you respond, and see if you keep moving in that same direction of decisiveness and commitment, or being able to endure the risk that you've opened up. Because that's what happens when we're in a change situation. There's risk. We're starting to we're gambling in a way, but it's an intelligent gamble. Hopefully, we're not just throwing caution to the wind. But I'll give you a couple of examples. I made this announcement that I'm going to be changing not only what I do and how I work, but it's really a life shift in total. And I spoke to the first person besides Masami and a close friend of ours on Thursday, somebody I actually work with, and made that announcement. And the very next day, our furnace in our house went out. And I don't mean it just, the pilot light went out. I mean, it broke. And I have fixed furnaces before because that's one of the handy little things I've learned to do in my life. But this one was not fixable. So we're still sitting here in winter in February with no furnace. And fortunately, we have a fireplace and lots of wood, and that's still keeping us warm enough to be okay. But those things happen where it's like, this is big. This is a big, expensive thing to go in and think about getting a whole furnace HVAC system replaced in the middle of winter. Didn't see that coming. Do I really want to be leaving a secure, steady job right now? Yes. Yes, I do. That was the clear answer that came after that. Yes, I do. We've got lots of wood. I just need to make sure I bring it in so it's warm and not sitting under a pile of snow. So those are the kinds of things that they come up and they test us, and they want to make sure that we are dedicated, and that what we're seeing, like Masami said, we want to respond to what our heart wants. That's really what I'm doing right now too, is I am listening and responding and realizing if I stay in the box that I've been in, then the majority of who I know I am doesn't get to have a voice. There's no expression for it in the current way that I am working. I can do other things that are great, and some of them are even interesting and fun, but the largest part of me that I know is there isn't getting a voice. And that's real poison to the soul. I can say that. So I'll close off this thought here and pass it back to Masami in a second, but I wanted to share something else that was an observation that I made. Again, this was just when I was visiting my teacher last week, and he lives in a place with a very big view of mountains and desert, and just being in there and seeing it reminded me of something about what is important for me, and I suspect for a lot of you on this call too, is there's this sense of longing for something more. And whether it's the communal connection or just a way to give voice to what's inside of you, that's wanting to find a way to come out into the world, there's this sense of longing. And something about being in nature. Now, you could be close to somewhere like we are here in Colorado. We have mountains that we can visit, and engage with. You might just have a park, something like that that's nearby, or maybe an ocean. Maybe you can go to a beach, or even the open desert, wherever you are. Find a place where you can be with nature, because there's this movement that happens internally when we can be with nature. And that is it's something like this. Okay, if you imagine, I didn't bring my phone with me, maybe it's by design, I don't carry that thing around a lot, but just imagine every time you get a text or there's a little ding on your phone, your attention immediately goes to it. And all those little swipes that you do with your fingers on your phone, every time you're doing that, it's kind of like your little ego is saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I exist, I'm important, I'm important, I'm important, right? All these little things that we do just to make ourselves feel like we're real and we're alive and we're really here and we mean something and we matter. It's really small stuff a lot of the time. And a lot of that is not speaking to what I'm talking about right now, what's inside of us. So this movement that I'm talking about with nature is, this is what I was saying to my teacher, is that when I am able to be in a nature space, I can feel immediately that the movement is from me as this little I that's trying to make myself important with little tasks, little things, maybe little arguments with people, messages, emojis, whatever it might be that we use these days. It's moving from that, which is a very frightened little creature that's always trying to survive and figure out how to outsmart competition and predators and people that don't like me. I move from that to this big I that somehow you look around and it includes everything that you can take in, everything that you can see and feel and hear and smell and everything else. And you become that I. And that I doesn't even need to mention itself. It doesn't even need to say I, because it knows that it is all of that and more. So that's my invitation to you, is that in this year of being a predator of your own opportunities, that you spend some time in nature yourself and rekindle that feeling of what that's like to make that move from inside to out, to open up, to feel that vastness that lives inside of you, so that you can hear it and you can say, what are you wanting to say? What are you wanting to be in the world? What do you need to give voice to that? And I'll pass that back to Masami.
Well, thank you, Chris. That was delicious, like the lunch that I made for you.
And that was delicious too, I have to say.
That was good. Thank you. I kind of wanted to read a couple things that came on the chat. Claudia says, you have source as a parachute. Love that. And then Tracy says, this year is very much about strengthening our trust and faith, knowing we are more than just this physical vessel. And, definitely this is the year that even in my small group, I think building the muscles for trusting and having faith and trusting the journey that you're on was a big one. And along with that, you want to have, on one hand, you have to have the muscles for trust and build the faith in you. And that there's that inner knowing that everything will work out. And at the same time, you have to carry this other one that will balance. What that is I would say it's the discipline and the commitment. So I wrote down some disciplines here. Discipline to stay in your truth. So on hand, you have to have trust in you, but you want to have the staying in your truth as your discipline. You make the commitment for that. I think we require a disciplined measures, disciplined activities and commitments for all of us to ascend. You can't just sit there and just say all about ascensions, right? Like you just can't do that, everyone. You can't be like, yay, it's like a buzzword. You know, you wear the t-shirt that says ascension and you think, okay, I paid $20 for that and I'm wearing the all organic cotton t-shirt that says ascension, so I'm good to go. Like it's no. You buy the t-shirt and do something with it. You know, you still live your life with that t-shirt on. So discipline of staying in your truth. Other one is discipline about being honest and honest with yourself. So how much can you do in a day, or how much can you actually get done? So it isn't just about having faith that you can get it done, but get a little bit more committed to deciding what that looks like. Is it 3 pages of writing every day? Or are you going to reach out to 3 people by this end of this week? You know, things like that. And Chris sees this in me a lot, is that I will commit to something and I write it down on my little notebook. I have a little notebook that I write down all my disciplinary stuff, meaning commitments, basically, so that I stay on the course. And he knows I will go through them. And if I'm not done with it, I don't check it off. And then I go back and highlight it again for the next week. I try it over and over till I reach that point. And another thing is discipline about staying on course without judgment. That's a discipline too, because it's so easy to judge yourself, right? You make a commitment, you start doing it, and then you start to create the discipline in your practice, but then you begin to judge yourself. That's normal because your brain comes after, remember? Brain is like, why, you've already made the decision and you're going for it. And the brain goes, oh, should you be doing that? No, you're not good enough for that. No, you've never done that before. So that lots of judgments come, right? So stay on course without the judgmental minds. And if the judgment comes, you go, well, isn't that a lovely voice? Thank you for letting me know. No, I'm okay. I don't see any big boulders that I'm going to trip over. I'll be okay. You need to talk to your mind. Your mind is just this like a control freak that just wants to control, but because it cares. Okay. So you just say, thank you for your care, but it's going to be okay. And discipline about what you focus on. So where do you want to put your energy towards? Prioritize. Prioritizing is a disciplinary practice. Discipline. Okay. And follow through. If you're going to say, I'm going to get this done by the end of February, follow through. At least put some, steps into it. You may not accomplish it completely, but do something. Let's see. Oh, and then the discipline also is a self-care, right? Every day, Chris knows this. I went outside today too, and I was doing some breathing exercises. I saw some footprints of some animal. I think it was a coyote. So I went and looked at it, and I was saying hello to the morning, and I had a cup of coffee in my hand, and my, silly little like snow boots that I have, like a little kid boots that I wear. And, I'm out there, but it's my discipline. It's like, I will do that no matter what the temperature is like. And, really get a little bit tuned into when you need to go to bed by, right? Hydration, basic things. Are you drinking plenty of water? Are you going to the bed at the reasonable time? And reasonable time means, I say to everyone, please go to bed by today. Meaning that let's not go to bed after midnight. Okay. If you're going to go to bed today, go to bed by today. All right. So things like that. And then other self-care that I'm starting to feel strongly about is clearing your aura. I think I saw a lot of your aura space, aura like domain that has become little jumbo mumbo. Is that the word? Jumbo mumbo, mumbo jumbo, mumbo jumbo. I don't know. I can't hear you, Chris. So, but is it something?
Got it. Yeah, the mumbo jumbo. You got it.
Okay, mumbo jumbo, not jumbo mumbo. Okay. I think I ordered too much jumbo drinks when I was a teenager or something. So gives it mumbo jumbo. Okay. Like you try this thing and then you try that thing, the buffet thing I talked about. When you do the buffet style living, did you know that your aura space starts to get like marbled with too many colors? And have you ever done that as a kid? You first learn how to do watercolor and you're really excited. So you start with one color and then the next color and then the next color. And then eventually they start to bleed together and they just look like poop. Okay. That's what happens. Okay. Your aura starts to look little poopy-ish. Okay. So you need to clear things out and reclaim your aura color. Okay. And the aura does not have to be the same as other people's colors. You have your own unique shade. You have your own unique clarity or shimmers or, twinkles. You got to create your own and stop messing with that with so many people's ideas and their color splashes, because it's going to turn into a big mess. Okay. And so aura clearing is great. Balancing your chakras in a way that maybe not has been done. Like, I'm going to work on this year because it's something it's coming to me a lot, but we've got to upgrade the balancing your chakras, everyone. Like, we got to have a chakra clearing and chakra balancing 2.0. Seriously. Like, we are still doing a chakra clearing from 1990s and year 2000. It's like, we've got to have an upgrade on that. But what I mean by that is your chakras are not what you think maybe you've been taught. Okay. So I was taught chakras by kind of old school yogini. Okay. She's the person, actually the main person that started the Yoga Alliance for yoga teachers to get their certifications, 200, 300 hours, 500 hours kind of things. She's the main person. So she's one of my yoga teachers, and she taught me yoga, the chakra systems in a totally different way. Did you know that the ancient chakras are not rainbow colors? Did you know that? The colors are not in rainbow. That's just like a really, somebody created that for ease of maybe memorizing. I don't know, maybe ease of marketing, perhaps. But it is so much deeper than that. So maybe at some point I might, create a course or something on it. But what I want you to know is to not get too caught up in the rainbows. Could you just start doing that? Okay. And not get too caught up in the location of it either. Okay. It expands bigger than that, and it actually expands deeper than that. Some of them are wider, some of them are little bit thicker. Like, it's different than what you think. Okay. So just kind of start to become curious about chakras. Okay. And so that's a discipline. Actually, you have to still your mind to tune into that. That's what the ancient yogis did, right? They just quieted their minds and sat with it. It's not like they had a manual that said rainbow color of chakras today. They didn't have manuals like that. They came up with it by going inward. Also, I do think the ancestral, like reclaiming the ancestral energies, their wisdom, their knowledge, what we have inherited, it's going to become a very important thing to do in the coming years, especially this year on. But I want you to focus less on trying to heal them, okay? Because that means that there's something so deeply damaged. Do you see that? When you start to go into ancestral healing, you're looking at the ancestral energetic fields as something that has been corrupted, destroyed, hurt, traumatized. Yes, those are true, but we're stepping into a little bit different ways to reclaim the connections with ancestors. And I don't have it clearly, logically, like I can really explain it yet, because it's still kind of a sensation for me. But what the ancestors are asking me to speak about this year is to focus a little less on the injured part of the ancestors and more of reclaiming and the gratitude towards them, because without them, you're not here. Okay. And look at it from a much bigger perspective, instead of just your own lineage. Because if all of us got together and did our lineages, we'll eventually find a singular point where we all basically come from. Okay. So maybe focus a little bit on that. And you've always had issues with your ancestors because you've traced it back to your mothers and your grandmothers and your grandpas, and that has not felt good to you. I want you to go way back, further back, and really light a candle or two for their wisdom and their strength and their tenacities and their endurance that made us able to come to this point. Okay. Without them, you're not here. That's a truth. So that could be a discipline that you bring back to your daily or weekly or even a monthly thing you do. Okay. And take in the nature. That's a commitment. Please, please, everyone, take in the nature. Go for a walk, go into the woods, talk to a tree, find a tree that you love, communicate with that tree, find a rock that you can often go and sit on and, commune with. Okay. All right. So I think those are a couple of the things I wanted to say. Anything coming up? Any questions, everyone? Chris, you have any?
All right, before we go, I'm out of practice already. I'm forgetting to unmute myself. That went fast. I wanted to just comment on a couple of the chats that came in. And one of them, Erlene, I wanted to come back to yours because this idea of making dramatic change, I think at any time of life can be a very frightening prospect. And the image, it actually came as soon as I read this, and it's a line, I'm probably paraphrasing from Rumi, but it says something to the effect of to live as if you are an eagle on the cliff face. Okay, so imagine that you're an eagle who is holding on to the cliff face, poised for flight. Okay, so that's Rumi's instruction, is to live with this sense of, just take that image in. Okay, an eagle is not a chicken, right? It didn't accidentally get on the cliff face. It meant to get there. And not only is it gripping on because it knows it has to eventually leap off and fly, but it knows that when it does, that it can have faith and trust that its wings that it has developed over time are going to carry it where it needs to get to. So that was the image that came up. And then there was another one that I wanted to, Lynn, you had a comment too that I'm building off of what Erlene said. And I think for both of you and also for myself at this time, this is something that I want to share, this very simple way of thinking about this.
Chris, can you read Lynn's comment first? Yeah. Is that
Yes.
the one that I think I'm making? I'm mistaking my lack of discipline for thinking I'm not on the track.
Yes.
Afraid of making a mistake and not trusting I'm moving in the right direction.
Yes. So there's something here similar to Erlene. And so there's a little practice that you can do. And it's just 3 words: freedom in restraint. Okay, freedom in restraint. And what this essentially means is you're narrowing your scope. Everything is not an option right now. You can see where you need to go toward. You may not have all of the information to make a precise final decision, but can you move closer to it? Yeah, you can. And the way you do that is you narrow down your focus. And this is also a strategy that you can use to help your nervous system work with you, not against you. Because when you're looking at everything, and I do this, so I'm something of an expert on this, this particular problem, which is I tend to look way big, way out in the future all at once and start imagining all the things that's going to mean for me to do. And so if you are that type of conceptual and analytical thinker, it can be a real Achilles heel. Even though those things help you get things done in the end and they help you be creative, So what I have to do is I have to remind myself, this is not all needing to be happening at one time. Actually, it's usually Masami that's reminding me this, to be fair. She has to say, you don't have to do it all at once. I'm not asking you to do all of this right this second, because that's where my mind will go. It's like, oh no, I've got to do this and this and this and this and this, and it's this big. So it's, how can you bring your scope down? Okay. So the freedom part is this. And I'm even going to tell you, there's actually a movement practice that I was taught, and it's very simple. I'll describe it to you, and maybe some other time in the future we'll actually be able to either do it virtually or in person. But it's basically, it's almost like doing Tai Chi, even slower, and using music. So it's like a very slow, deliberate dance movement where you're feeling your body very slowly opening, and you're still doing kind of the gracefulness, and you're letting the beauty and the flow of energy move through you. But that's an example of this freedom in restraint, is that you might have this urge, you can feel the energy building up, you want it to come blasting out, you want to have an answer, but by holding it and allowing it to show you what it is first, there's a real beauty to this. It's hard to do, I'll admit, but when you can realize that you've created the container for yourself, you're not boxed in, you chose this container. The freedom that lives within that is virtually unlimited. Because as soon as you learn that whole container that you've allowed yourself to operate in, you can get rid of it, you can grow it, you can blow it up, you can take on a new one. That's up to you. And that's the amazing thing, is you can hold that scope for yourself without having to have the possibility of all things overwhelm you. So to both Erlene and Len, and to anyone else who is feeling the same kind of transition pressure and anxiety and fears that come with that, what is your heart saying? This is what Masami was talking about earlier. What is your heart saying? Is it still saying yes? That's the test I've been doing, because I've been having to go through these stages of cutting links to things that I have been doing for the past few years. And each time I make a cut, I basically have to come back and double check. And Masami is good at prompting me on this too, and I have to check it for myself even before she asks me. But she'll often say, how do you feel? Is your answer still the same? And I have to say, yes. It's difficult in ways, but it's 100% yes. And I still don't know what's on the other side. Like I said, there is always risk. And I don't have my John O'Donohue book here in front of me, but he has this great quote where he says something to the effect that he's never met a soul that did not gain basically beyond what the imagination can hold by taking risk for growth's sake. This is a horrible paraphrase, okay? That's not what he said. His point is, he's never known anyone that hasn't had amazing things happen in their life when they risked something for the sake of their own growth. Okay? So that's all I've got for now.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just reading some chats, and I think, Chris, we can do that motion next time we do the Masami and Chris call here, because it's different, everyone. It's taught by his Sufi teacher. So it's not, I wouldn't even call it Tai Chi. You know, it's very different. But what I'm gonna, lastly, I want to take you guys through is freedom in restraint. I love that. You know, it just seems like a paradox, isn't it? But that is such an important practice. Because then you get in touch with your childlike self, but there's this inner wisdom that steps in also. So there's this like a beautiful relationship between your inner child that wants to run around, and go into maybe dangerous streets, but then there's an inner wisdom that says restrain yourself. Do not jump into that too soon. But you still get to kind of express that excitement. And you know me with the pendiculation, right, everyone? My favorite pendiculation. Can we do that? Because doesn't that kind of feel a little bit like that? Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what this is, okay, imagine cats, dogs, all animals, but the cats are great. You know, when they wake up first, like they kind of tighten themselves up. So I want you to kind of tighten into your body, make a big, like a really strong fist, okay? And then from there, you begin to push your aura space out and open. It's not a stretch. It's like you're pendiculating. This is different than a stretch, everyone. Like stay with it. And your fingertips, your arms, everything's really involved in it. And you can make that kind of noise too. Like that. To me, it's like a freedom, but there's this like interesting restraints that's happening here. Yeah, and then yawn to reset your nervous system. So make yourself yawn if you can. One more time. And what Chris will show you next time we talk is a lot more elegant than that. But I just had to become a little feline human being here to show you that we're all cats inside. All right. Anything else, Chris, that you wanted to say from the and then Astrid is here. So I'm gonna say hi, Astrid. And I had the interview that I had with her is airing today. Like it's on right now. So please go and listen. I have become good friends with Astrid, and she's just like a sunshine. So please go and listen to the interviews that she's been doing with other people too. But go listen to me though first. Okay, Chris, anything else that we need to wrap? I know, sorry everybody, we went a little over time. See, you can see how much we've missed you guys. So we'll be back. We'll be back. We don't know exactly, but we'll try to do Mondays still. We decided to do an hour earlier than what we've been doing, because this way people in Europe can join without staying up till midnight to be on this call. So right, Chris, we will make a decision how often we'll show up. So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I mean, we're moving into a whole different phase of our lives too. I mean, I don't ever want to be static. I know Masami is one of the most dynamic people I know, if not the most. And but we all have our own way. And I just wanted to say that whatever it is that you are looking at in your life right now, whatever questions you have, one of the simplest things and one of the most profound things that has been said to me over the years is, I want you to just take this image. The same teacher of mine, when I was having a complete brain melt after this particularly difficult session that I did once, he looked at me and he just kind of put his hand on the back of my neck and he said, just stay with it. You've gone molten. Just stay with it. Okay, so just stay with it. At those times when we feel like we've gone molten, so just imagine lava. It's actually molten rock. It has melted. It's so chaotic and hot and frenzied, and we don't know what's coming next. Is it going to explode? Is it going to turn into something else? We don't know. So just stay with it. And that freedom that you can have in the restraint and knowing you don't have to be everywhere doing everything at once, that actually focuses your energy to make decisions and move forward. Okay, so hold some of that. Keep that for yourself as you move forward and just stay with it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. It's so hard to say goodbye today for some reason, but we'll be back and we will get into a little bit more like a rhythm. Chris and I are discussing when can we do this more regularly, but we will be in touch. And then by the end of this month, everyone, you are going to be so sick and tired of seeing me. So I think you'll be okay. Okay. But we will be in touch to let you know when we'll do these live calls again. And, let us know, email us through our website if you have like question or like a theme that you want to talk to us to like pick up on and talk about, right? We talk about body, mind, spirit, anything goes, right? From the questions from why do I have a fungus on my big toe to, how the fungus is going to impact my, future goals. Like, I don't care. Like we can talk about anything. Okay. So we'll just play. Let's come into the sandbox box together and then let's just play. Okay. So for lovely reunion, I loved it. We will see you very, very soon. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you for all your beautiful light. Keep shining, everyone. Bye.